Yes, guys, welcome back to another episode of Teams Like Brighton. And ladies and gentlemen, doesn't a week change your mood? My God, we went from the lowest to the lowest to the highest of highs. I tell you what, it was going to be a great one, wasn't it, Richie?
Well, we didn't expect it, but by gum, was it? I mean, yeah, as you say, we were in the proper doldrums on Monday, and then on Sunday, you just blow away the team that have been for 95% of the season the best team in the league. And he did it with style and panache and with ease. It was just, yeah. First half was a fairly even affair, like sort of decent chances for both teams. But then second half, Brighton just stepped it up a gear. They were fantastic. And I mean, I can't think of another team that's taken Arsenal to the cleaners in that way, especially at home. I don't think anyone's done that really. City maybe, but I don't think in terms of the manner of the victory and the margin of the scoreline. Yeah, they just really stepped up. I was really pleased for a number of players. Matoma was back to his best. Ben White, see you later, every day of the week, Sam. Just, yeah, had him. He will be so glad to see the back of him. He just, yeah, all day in his pocket. Colwill was fantastic. We can come on to him a little bit later because there was specific sort of tactics that he were given that he pulled off fantastically. But he did a really good job. His way of passing is fantastic. He was very solid at the back with Dunk. You know, it's such a it's basically polar opposites to the Everton game. You know, when they were behind after 30 seconds and conceded 5 goals. They didn't really. Arsenal didn't have that many big chances, I'd say. There was ones where you're thinking, oh, if they were a bit more clinical, maybe. But in terms of really big, clear-cut chances, Brighton definitely had the lion's share of those. And yeah, there was just, I think Caicedo, obviously, we'll come to him a little bit later. I mean, yeah, he was brilliant at right back. That's hopefully that sort of because you've got Veltman and Lamptey out injured at right back. Hopefully he could be. I mean, obviously he is a better player in midfield, but if that is sort of still a big gaping hole for Brighton, he could fill that. I think. Touch wood. We shall see. But yeah, he did a pretty good job against Marcus Rashford against Manchester United a week or so ago, and then did an even better job. Against Martinelli and Trossard, which was quite fun to see. The guy who left Brighton for Arsenal to well, a little bit of comeuppance perhaps for him. But yes, a really impressive performance. The second half was fantastic. The amount of plaudits to come in the way from the likes of Gary Neville, Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira, Jamie Carragher. It was just, this was a real statement of intent to bounce back from a humbling defeat. And this really does put Brighton in pole position for, I think, a Europa League spot. What do you reckon, Tom?
Oh, straight in with the European shout right there. Yeah, the game was superb. We talked about it, didn't we, in the last episode about how we seem to be better off when we don't have the lion's share of possession, and clearly De Zerbi saw that as well, and we definitely delved into the dark arts of gamesmanship and bending the rules to our advantage without breaking it, so to speak, and that works wonders for us because Arsenal really struggled to get their typical dominating, high pressing style of play in. And I think that was the difference. That's the reason why we came up victors in such a convincing manner. We played a completely different brand, I think. While we did still have our usual groove and mojo throughout the whole game, we still changed quite a lot of the specifics and tactics, and it just works wonders for us. But going to your question, Richie, is Europe a possibility? I think it is now. I think we're back in this case of check your passports, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you've got holiday insurance. Make sure you know, where you're flying in and out to, because I can honestly now see us really pushing on from this, because I can't see Spurs turning their form around. Dare I say, I think really now our hopes are back into it after that Everton defeat.
We needed a big result, and this was the perfect one.
It really was. It really was. So it's almost like as if it's cancelled it out, which is fantastic, because I think most people would have expected us to beat Everton and lose to Arsenal, but we lost to Everton, but we beat Arsenal. So really, we're now back in the same groove again, which is fantastic. We've got a match against Southampton to deal with on Sunday, and we'll talk about that later on in the week. But relegation's confirmed for them, and that tends to give them no pressure now, because most players will now be looking to state their claim of staying with the club, or, you know,
more likely leave,
to kind of like do a bit of window shopping and say, hey, I'm on offer here, ladies and gentlemen, let's come and get me. So it'll be interesting to see how we set up, but we need a result there to really capitalize on this win against Arsenal, because then we've got the small matter of Newcastle and City to deal with as well. Hang on a sec, is Newcastle this on Thursday as well, isn't it? Oh yeah, so yeah, we've got Thursday to deal with Newcastle. So I'm getting lost with the fixture congestion here. Then we've got Southampton. I mean, if we could get a result from Newcastle, but I'm not expecting us to get wins against Newcastle, and I'm not expecting us to get wins against City, but we stay exactly the same place as we are, which is brilliant. We've got a bit of breathing space there, so I think capitalize on the Southampton match and really push on and get a result against Villa. I think that's how it's going to be played out. But if we could get a result against Newcastle and beat Southampton, then we're in the driving seat for this, and I cannot wait for that. So yeah, European spots in Europe are definitely up for grabs. Conference League is now, I think, an absolute minimum in De Zerbi's eyes. I think now we're in this case where we could really be in Europa League.
Yeah, I think just look at the table here. So Brighton have played 34, got 58 points. Spurs and Villa, much worse goal difference, have played 2 games more on a point back on 57. So obviously, if Brighton just win 2 more games, that's it. That's secure. I really hope it doesn't come down to a case of last day of the season, Brighton need to win at Villa, or I hope the pressure will be off. I still think there's going to be another twist or turn to come. I mean, no one would have expected Everton. No one would have expected Arsenal. I think it's fair to say in the final 4 games, there might be another upset or another crazy result in there.
City could be winning the league this weekend without kicking a ball either. Let's face it, they're going to win the league this weekend. I'll be amazed if it's delayed to them coming to the Amex and beating us and win it at the Amex for the 2nd time in their history. So, yeah. And that'll be interesting. If they win the league, what's Guardiola going to do? Is he going to rotate? Is he going to...
Probably.
Is Pep Roulette going to be spinning once again in ways that us fantasy football managers absolutely despise? It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But
could we see a repeat? Could we see a repeat of the Brighton amazing comeback in 2021?
No, Big Dan Burns gone.
Sorry,
Big Dan Burns left. Big Dan Burns left. That was just a quality result. But again, City won the league by then. I think I want to say,
yeah,
they already won it then. So, you know, it's in our hands really. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. But look, we're digressing ever so slightly because we need to talk about the game, and there's a few people we want to single out in this. For me, Moises Caicedo, absolute masterclass once again. It's ridiculous the fact that this guy is 21 years old. Okay, and he's just the way he plays and the crucial challenges that he put in. He's not afraid to stick it on the line, especially in the penalty box where there was what I thought was a pretty easy penalty shout when I looked on the telly, and I panicked and I thought, oh God, here we go again. Ref didn't have anything to do with it. And Eddie Nketiah, the player, got fouled, well, got tackled, didn't appeal it or anything. Like there was no appeal from any of the Arsenal fans, any of the Arsenal players. And when you looked at the replay, you could see why. It was a fantastic challenge from the Ecuadorian. And that was just the tip of the iceberg of how good the performance was from him. He was solid in the midfield. He read every single passing channel you can get, which at Arsenal, there are a lot. And he just managed to read every single one. He either did an interception. If he's going in on a one-on-one, he's won most of them anyway. Best part, 95% of them. And the other 5%, he just diverts them away. So he goes to a defender where they get absolutely classes. I can't get over how good this player is. And it's such a shame when De Zerbi said at the end of it that, you know, we've got to expect to lose Caicedo and McAllister next season, because I'm loving the duo in that midfield there. Because
why did he have to say that?
He had to say that. He's being realistic. Fair play to him for being that open and honest. I like it. But how good is this guy? I mean, I know he talks about his dream to play for Real Madrid. He could walk in Real Madrid easily. He could walk in that side. I know I may sound a tad delusional, but tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Just a quick point on Caicedo. So I found some stats. And this backs up your point, Tom. Most duels won at 14, most tackles made at 5, most fouls won at 5, had 67 touches, and 3 take-ons completed. And then the stat from Score Colliders: if you can't beat them, why join them? But yeah, to your point, he was fantastic.
He really was. He honestly was. And you know, we could sing about so many plays. You know, we've done the shout out of Matoma running Ben White ragged. I mean, that's what you get really. He's not a right back. You look at the battles that Matoma's had against Serge Aurier and Aaron Wan-Bissaka of late, and they were tough shifts because they're out and out right backs. When you've got a centre back or defensive midfielder as a makeshift right back or an inverted right back, it's going to be plain sailing for him. There's only ever going to be one winner in that, and that's going to be our Japanese winger. So again, it made things very easy on the left and sometimes on the right as well. When I saw early on him and Ciso changing over, but another thing we've got to talk about, because it was just such a good goal. The second goal, Dennis Undav, just in the right place, right time. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, just celebrating it, owning it. He loves a lob. Can we just get some battered cods on those chips, please? Because I'm loving it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I speak for many Brighton fans who would be just really chuffed for him, because he's had a very tough time adapting to the league, and I personally have raised doubts about his quality and if he's good enough. So it's taken his time, and I definitely think there were games where sort of criticism was merited. But he's come good in the last few weeks. Obviously scored two goals against Wolves, and then got a fantastic goal against Arsenal. Yeah, as you say, a lovely nonchalantly lobbed it over Jose Sarr a couple of weeks ago in the 6-0 win over Wolves, and then same again against Ramsdale. I actually think this one was probably better, because the one against Wolves, he had his time to sort of pick his spot. He had his options and then decided to go for the lovely sort of dinked lob. But this one was, Trossard lost the ball. I think it ricochets off Gross and then comes to him and it's bouncing away. And he just has to have a quick sort of second or so to look up, see Ramsdale's off his line, and then executes. And that was a really good instinctive finish. Loved his celebration and how he was, and we can segue onto a little bit that you're going to talk about, Tomo. But yeah, I loved it. You know, the photo of him is just pure ecstasy, just running towards the fans, then turning back to his teammates, engulfed by all of them. The celebrations to them is fantastic. There's quite a few photos on Getty Images, but are really worth a look at. And then he went into the away fans, and there was a certain someone in the Travelling Faithful, Tom.
Yeah, I think this is just it's poetic almost, the fact that the gentleman we're about to talk to was there in that moment. Undav's goal really solidified that, you know, our hopes of Europe are now back on track, and the fact that he was able to celebrate it, and guy there was giving it the thumbs up in front of the camera was a guy named Paul Samra. Now, if you don't know who Paul Samra is, one, where have you been? Two, Paul Samra was a Brighton fan in the 90s who was significant.
Keep talking, 1 second.
He's off. He is significant in Brighton's most darkest hour. He is the reason for it. He's the reason behind, you know, books like Build a Bonfire was there, as Richie's.
You find bookstores everywhere.
Yeah. For those who are listening on Spotify or other podcast platforms, Richie had a run to go and get the Build a Bonfire copy. And if you haven't read Build a Bonfire, it's essential reading for any Brighton fan or anyone who has some sort of following to the album. So I get an understanding of what happened under Bill Archer and under David Bellotti at the Albion in the 90s when they sold the Goldstone, because he's the reason why it all started. He found in the Articles of Association that something changed so that Greg Stanley, David Bellotti and Bill Archer could profit from the sale of Brighton and Hove Albion's ground, the Goldstone. He's the one that started it all off. And if it wasn't for him being curious to see what's changed and reading through those documents, and I've actually had the pleasure of meeting him once. He's like, you know, I'm a very boring gentleman and I like to read through that kind of stuff. If it wasn't for him doing that, Lord knows what it would be. So the fact that he was there in that moment, easily the most important football fan in the history of world football, I'm going to go out there. He is so significant to it, and to be there in that moment where we are just inches away from European football next season in a place that we could call our own. Again, someone who was at the forefront of us campaigning to get a stadium at Falmer, to get us back home to Brighton after a couple of seasons at Priestfield in Gillingham, 180-mile round trip for a home match. There were away games that were shorter than that. To then get in our stadium, to getting Dick Knight involved, with Tony Bloom stepping in, all of that would never have happened if it wasn't for Paul Samra. So I think I speak on behalf of all fans, and I know so many people on Twitter and social media have spoken aloud from this, but I think it's only right that we have to say this, that, you know, Paul, I hope you've enjoyed this season. I hope you enjoy the rest of the season. If anyone deserves it more and deserves to be serenaded by all the fans, it should be you, because, you know, when this all happened, I was a kid. I was 4 or 5 years old, but, you know, my dad made sure that what happened during the 90s is really instilled in my head as well. So the fact that these fans who really were at the forefront, campaigning, getting the FA involved, you know, Fans United, all that stuff, that they should be the ones that should be serenaded and thanks on the pitch if it gets confirmed, because their contribution in football as a whole is second to none. So yeah, Paul, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed hugging Dennis Undav. I'm very jealous, and here's to the rest of the season.
Lovely. An excellent raconteur Tom is there. But yes, so just going back to Undav, there was a really interesting takeaway from one of his post-match quotes with Sky Sports. And he essentially said, in terms of, he was also, I guess, you know, how do you pick yourselves up from the Everton loss? And he said, and I quote, "To the whole team, De Zerbi showed us a video from a famous person, Michael Jordan. He was and he said, for me, it's LeBron James, but let's say he's the greatest basketball player ever. He showed us after the defeat how he got, sorry, he showed us how Michael Jordan got motivated and how he motivated himself every game. He showed us how after the Everton defeat to respond, how we prepared for the game today and how mentally strong we are. So I love that, you know, just showing Michael Jordan videos. If anyone's seen The Last Dance, that documentary, that's fantastic. I just wonder if it was the video of him going, I took that personally.
Yeah, exactly that. I'm just thinking, is it just going to be like edited versions of all the mistakes that we did in Everton, and then it's just Michael Jordan just go, and I took that personally.
I took that
like, it's just every single time. That's all I'm thinking of right now. Just there, Dennis Undorf. Yeah, I'm taking this personally. I'm taking everything personally now. It's just, like, just instilling that mentality and that mindset in. I think it's and I think that's testament as well to his man management again. De Zerbi's man management has been second to none. He knows how to motivate the players in ways that none other football manager at the club has done in the past. And I love it. And I think that's been the major difference as to where we were as a mid-table side to now fighting for Europe. Because, I mean, with all due respect, Potter had a degree in emotional intelligence, but he didn't really apply it in the way that De Zerbi
especially when he was at Chelsea.
Especially when he was at Chelsea. But look, De Zerbi's being... He just finds a way. And the fact that he said after the Everton match, Brighton will be back against Arsenal. You'll see the proper Brighton play again against Arsenal. And everyone, you know, if you're neutral, you'll be thinking, yeah, whatever, mate, wishful thinking, hot air. And then you watch it and you just think, my God. But every Brighton fan who read that and saw that, they were kind of like thinking, okay, here we go. Because we knew what De Zerbi has to offer. When he says those words, you know, you don't have to read between the lines. You know what he means. You know what he's saying. You just know the message that he said in the dressing room. You know the message that he's going to send on the training pitch. And you know what the team talk was at the Emirates. And it's second to none. And the fact that, again, Michael Jordan, for me, one of the best sporting athletes ever in my lifetime. You know, the fact that he gets a little dub on Brighton as well. Good link-up play there. That's a great article there. Michael Jordan and Brighton and Hove Albion, there's an SEO track everyone's going to love to jump on.
Yeah, I did. Well, yeah, I did that, and I'd also talked about, because he said LeBron James, so I've got that in the headline. But I was going to ask De Zerbi about that quote, but then someone nipped in ahead of me. So he was asked, about this, and I've said this many times. De Zerbi is really good for little anecdotes or little tidbits or little sound bites. He said, Undorf speaks too much. So, yeah, love it. So, yes, but just changing tune a little bit, I guess everyone has seen that the first goal scorer in Chiesa went off, but going by what De Zerbi said, it doesn't look too serious. Obviously, Brighton really can't afford to lose any more players with the amount of people currently on the sidelines. But he said, I don't think it is anything important, which is good because Brighton can't afford to lose any more players. He was also played out of position. He said, I think Enciso can play better, but didn't play in the right position for him. We are playing without Solly March. Buonanotte had a small problem before the game, and we had to adapt some players in not really the right position. But yeah, I thought Enciso had a decent game. Nothing spectacular, but pretty good. But yeah, just one thing I want to add before we go on to a more debatable topic. So after Brighton lost 4-2 to Arsenal at the Amex back on New Year's Eve, basically Colwill said Martin Odegaard was very good. Basically talked about the best player that he faced this season. Having to get close to him, wow, the levels he reached that day were so impressive. Hopefully in a few more years it will be a different result in a one-to-one with him, but it was a good experience despite the result. Well, fast forward 5 or so months, and Colwill, ding, 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 I think he won that round and that battle. And what was interesting is that, after the game, De Zerbi was asked about Matoma showing courage to sort of bounce back from maybe some not so good games and being absolutely clattered by Martinelli. I think that probably could have been a red card, the way that he just sort of, I think, what was it? He kind of just barged into him, but and knocked him, like, hit into his head from his like hip. I thought that was an absolutely reckless challenge. But anyway, so after the game, he was asked that, but then instead of saying about Mitoma, De Zerbi said this. He said the best example of courage was Colwill, because we defended man to man, and the man for Colwill was Odegaard, and Colwill defended for 90 minutes against Odegaard. He went 80, 90 meters away from the goalkeeper, Jason Steele. This is the courage. And I think there's some interesting stats on Twitter, or just sort of graphics that show how far Colwill went to man mark Odegaard, who is one of the best players in the Premier League. 15 goals this season. I think around 10 assists or something, 25 goal involvements, around about that. Fantastic player. Arguably got one of the assists of the season at the Amex to set up Martinelli back in December. So, but for him to sort of be pressing him constantly up, near Arsenal's penalty area, he was really drawn out of position, but De Zerbi gave him a task and he stuck to it. And Odegaard was substituted. This is a guy who scored, I think maybe 1 or 2 goals against Southampton recently when they were, 3-1 down, looked like they were going to lose the game. He is your go-to guy. So to bring him off because it's not working, that's a resounding defeat in my eyes. And that is massively down to Levi Colwill. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we saw Webster get subbed off in the Everton match, and I think he was quite clear that he's got no chance of making a starting appearance against Arsenal. And Colwill, he showed glimmers of hope in the Everton match as well as he possibly could do, but we needed more out of that. But Colwill had the chance to, secure his place in the first team once again against Arsenal, and the fact that he's playing against easily one of the most creative midfielders in my books, in Martin Odegaard, like the Arsenal captain. He's kind of like being their Captain Marvel as well. He's a leader by example. The fact that we gave him a really quiet shift and frustrated him and stopped him playing and controlling that midfield, again, was another instrumental and stroke of genius move from De Zerbi to make sure that he does the job. And like you say, like 80, 90 meters away from the goalkeeper. Like if Colwill messed up in any way, shape or form, there was a huge gap there at the back to be exposed. And the only person there to cover it is Dunk. And if they managed to cut into that little half space there, Dunk's caught in no man's land. And then you're going to be looking at, a goal or two from that. Did it happen? No, because Colwill's a genius. He's a defending genius. I think, is he still a teenager as well?
He turned 20 a couple of months ago, only 20.
Yeah, he's 20. So the guy, I mean, he's got a whole career for it to look forward to. He's got easily 10 years at least at the highest level to just, make it his plaything, because he's a technically gifted footballer, but he's such a brilliant defensive-minded player that he's got that tactical nuance about him where he can read the game well and know where the threats are coming from. And to have that in your squad is going to be fantastic. And he's got to be our #1 target in the summer. He's got to be, especially if we get Europe, because I've always said it, I can't see Colwill getting in that Chelsea squad because the depth at Chelsea at the back is ridiculous. I do think he's better than most, but I don't think the next manager is going to see that. I don't think Pochettino's going to see that. And I like to think that Pochettino doesn't see that. And I hope he's happy enough for us to sell him. So I think we're in a good chance there for Colwill to really secure a future at the Albion. I think that'll be a great shout for us because I think he's so good on the ball, off the ball, in defence, and pushing from the back.
And the balance between the right-footed Dunk and the left-footed Colwill really works.
It really does. It really does. So I really think that that's something that we need to explore. I'm sure that there's probably been many conversations had in the background. We know Barber and Bloom are very secretive with their transfer negotiations. So it wouldn't surprise me if something comes in the near future. But I really hope that Colwill stays beyond this season for us, because he's been so good for us. He needs to come in there, and we need the depth in quality as well as, you know, in numbers.
Yes, and speaking of, I guess, next season, one player was a notable absentee from the matchday squad. Robert Sanchez was not on the bench. Tom McGill, third choice keeper, was in his place, and that raised a few eyebrows. I'm thinking, you know, is he injured? Is he ill? Whatever. But it all became clear after the match. But Roberto De Zerbi was fairly coy and non-committal about it, not really giving too much away. But he said, we spoke 2 days ago, him and Sanchez, and that's on the Friday. We found an agreement that on Sunday he is not going to come here to Arsenal. He knew he was not going to play, so we found an agreement on that. So hard to know what that means. I guess we don't want to speculate too much, but we're going to a little bit. What do you think this means, Tom, for Sanchez going forward? Obviously, he's been second choice since early April to Jason Steele, who I think is probably not as maybe as well-rounded as Sanchez. I don't think he has the athleticism or the wow factor that a Sanchez can produce, but he's a better footballer. He does. He's able to produce what De Zerbi wants, which is, you know, passing out from the back. I mean, sometimes his ability on the ball is just fantastic, just in terms of luring in defenders, and you've got your heart in your mouth, but then he'll pass it away. And there was almost, just really quickly, there was almost a moment when he had a pass to Gross, and it was about an inch or two away from Xhaka intercepting it, but then Brighton managed to go up the other end under the field, and then Cisse normally 6-1 in the top corner in the first half. So, but yes, I digress. So, Tom, what do you make of those comments from De Zerbi, and what do you think this means for Sanchez's future?
I think it speaks volumes. I think we could be expecting him to be a high-profile, outgoing goalkeeper.
Oh wow!
I do. I think that's if that's the way it's going about. Like, and you know, De Zerbi was very blunt and to the point with it as well. I don't. He was very different. He was hoping to keep Trossard. Let's not forget the way he was he needs some time off. He needs to think, and, you know, he needs to put his mindset, focus on the team. And then, you know, we hear all the speculation about scrap with Adam Lallana. So he's gone. Then we hear about Moises Caicedo wanted to leave to join Arsenal, and, you know, the whole farce with those football agents taking over his Instagram account, etc. Again, De Zerbi managed it well, and it was different. It was just, the tone is different this time around. It just seems, I think, reason it in, like I said, I expected Sanchez to start against Arsenal. I really thought that was going to be the case, because I thought Steele had he didn't, I think, like every other player there on that pitch, he did not have a good game against Everton at all.
Yeah.
And if I was Sanchez, yeah, I would be expecting to push on from there. So quite clearly, De Zerbi gave Steele a vote of confidence, saying, no, you're still going to start, you're still going to play. And I think, obviously, a couple of days in, you know, there must be some training drills where Sanchez just must be like, I'm on the bench again. There must have been a conversation, and, you know, De Zerbi just managed and just said, well, okay, I'll drop you. I'll bring on McGill, and that's the end of that. And I think that's probably the right way to go about it. I think, from judging by how he spoke about it, I just don't see Sanchez now in our squad going forward. But it will be interesting to see what the selection process is going to be like. Can I see Steele playing every single match? Maybe. I think we could see a bit of rotation. Maybe Sanchez could get called up. Who knows? We're going down the depths into the dark arts of football speculation here. But I've always had this feeling that Sanchez's time at the Albion is going to be up soon, because he's been knocking on the door for the Spanish #1 spot. So I've just got this feeling that something's coming up, and I think that's going to be the case with Sanchez. I think his time in the Albion's up now, which is a shame. And I think we could expect a bit of window shopping for a new goalkeeper in the summer. I wouldn't put it past it.
Yeah, I think obviously I don't know at all the ins and outs. I don't know what's happened, but I don't think signs like this are good. I don't think if everything was rosy, your former #1 keeper will be left out of the matchday squad. I wonder if this is going to be a similar situation to Sanchez's sort of #1 predecessor, Matt Ryan, when Graham Potter sort of essentially said you're surplus to requirements. Part of me was hoping that this would sort of act as a kick up the backside for Sanchez, and then he would become a better keeper as a result. But it seemed as if Steele is his guy for the time being. And yeah, I wonder if Sanchez will go, well, okay, well, this is not working out, and I'll look for pastures new in the summer. I don't think he'll be short of suitors. I think if he did go, Brighton would be able to get, maybe 20, 30 million for him. I think they could get a hefty chunk of money. But it is, yeah, I'm pretty sure this will be asked about ahead of the Newcastle game, if there's been a fallout or whatever. But yes, these it isn't the best sort of noises to be coming out of the Brighton camp. It's a shame, because I do think there's a very talented goalkeeper that just is a little rough around the edges, has a mistake in him, but if that can be ironed out, he could be a really, really good keeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, I'd like to hear a bit more before saying he's off. But yeah, I think this doesn't look too promising, I guess.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's just nothing more than just a slight disagreement, and they've made up and water under the bridge, because Sanchez is a quality keeper. There's no doubt about that. But look, guys, we're going to leave it there, because we've got a lot to think about. We've got a lot of prep for the Newcastle match and then the Southampton match. Lots coming at us thick and fast over the next couple of weeks. So as ever, thanks for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on your podcast platforms. Be sure to like, subscribe, write nice reviews about us, and send the pod along to any other Brighton fans that you know. Till then, guys, we'll speak on later when we talk about the Newcastle and Southampton match. Till then, up the Albion.